Minister of Public Utilities.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Mr. Deputy Speaker, before I go into my contribution, I would just love to acknowledge what is going on in this chamber here today. I like to hear the government and opposition agreeing with each other. As Destra Garcia once said in a great soca song, it's all about unity, togetherness. And as the member for St. Anne said, it's not a them versus we thing, it's a all a we thing, and it is beautiful to see that here today. With that being said, I would first like to respond to some of the statements I've heard from the opposition. Firstly, I'd like to take a moment to respond to the member for Tabaquite. She stated that the government, she said, and I quote, "You need to stop giving us empty promises." This is what is addressed to the government. So what I would like to say here is that we are the youth government of Trinidad and Tobago. We do not deliver empty promises, as we speak from our hearts, and our hearts are anything but empty. Secondly, I'd like to respond to the member for Kumutu in his absence. Firstly, I accept your apology. Secondly, he stated that this government is failing, this government is failing, this government is failing. And then he went on to say that this government is doing the same thing over and over. Member, I would like to bring to your attention that this government came into power September 12th, 2016. So I really don't understand how you can be doing the same thing over and over and constantly failing. That being said, I would like now like to go into my contribution. So the member for Naparima brought it to our attention some horrible statistics of youth involvement in crime. So I have a study from PLOT, the Powerful Ladies of Trinidad and Tobago, their crime analysis dating up to July 31st, 2016 at 10 a.m. This crime analysis states that 24% of the murder victims are under the ages of 24. So we know that we have some perpetrators of violent crimes that fall within this age group. But which group is bigger, the victims or the perpetrators? So, the member for St. Augustine brought up the issue of youth involvement in sexual violence and sexual offenses. So the statistics I have from the Inter-American Development Bank, their study states that only 3.1% sexual offenses were committed by youth. So this is not a major issue, it's like a small minority. It does not mean that it's not relevant. However, the way that it was put forward shows it to be something far bigger than what it really is. Additionally, she went on to bring up... Sure.
Well, Honorable Member, I also stated that the offenders are not prosecuted, they are not found. As such, how can the statistics then, if you're not locked up or if you're not prosecuted, it will not be in the statistics. So we cannot say for a fact that only the youths, even though you cannot say for a fact that the youths did not commit these offenses.
Member, you are taking up too much of your members' time with your contribution. Member, you may continue.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. In response to that, I will simply ask a question. Please, can you then give me some statistics that support what you just said? So now, I will go into some of the solutions that I have here for our youth. So, to find solutions, we must first outline what the problem is. So I asked myself, what might be a reason why a youth, someone falling in my age group, may turn to a life of crime? We heard several reasons brought forth by both the opposition bench and the government. And they revolved around two main answers. Number one, it's all they knew. And number two, crime is a profitable business. So the member for Shogunas East went and took a more psychological approach as to why one may be involved in crime. And what I have here coincides with what he stated. It's, what I have here states that a child learns from watching others, adopting behaviors they see to their own. And if a child is constantly exposed to a negative environment, surrounded by negative influences, it is obvious, it is only logical that some of these children will adopt the same behaviors and mannerisms. Secondly, crime is a profitable business. It is no secret that crime is a profitable business. when someone engages in illegal and criminal activity, you can find this as a source of income. And from the study that I stated, which provided statistics relating to sexual offenses, it showed that 60...
has expired.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, I seek the agreement of the House to continue to speak for 3 minutes in order to complete my contribution.
Honourable members, the question is that the Minister's speaking time be extended by 3 minutes. All in favour say aye. Aye. Any against? Member, you may continue.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. As I was saying, this can be a source of income. So in order to alleviate this problem of youth involvement in crime, the solution that my government has come up specific to my constituency is a youth program that focuses on teaching the youth of the constituency entrepreneurial skills, organizational skills, and how to create their own youth clubs. This then provides the opportunity for there to be a club created by the people, run by the people, for the people. These clubs will provide opportunities for members of the constituency and young people to be engaged in activities that are beneficial and constructive. Additionally, it was previously stated from the opposition bench that you should be engaged in activities that benefit the country's economy and that youth involvement in crime also negatively impacts our economy. When someone creates an entrepreneurial enterprise or business, this can come into contributing to our revenue locally and benefit us across the board, not just the youth, but the population of Trinidad and Tobago. How do we intend to encourage participation in this program? As a youth myself, I just had to sit back and think, what do I like? What appeals to me? So, social media can be a great tool and used to make an appeal to all of members of this age group. This provides the opportunity for them to have access to the program, see how it appeals to them. Additionally, local entrepreneurs, local young entrepreneurs will go into the different schools and speak to the members of the constituency and state how being an entrepreneur can be beneficial. Now that I have provided a new solution, I would like to go back to an old solution that has been implemented and state how it can be improved. To do this, I beg your leave, I would just like to read an excerpt, piece of an article from the Trinidad Express. This is from the 25th of February 2016. This documents the views of Ms. Diana Mahabir Wyatt. She says, and I quote, that for the past 25 years, the government has not been heeding to the advice to provide an adolescent program for the pupils in all primary and secondary schools. Now, such a program exists. This is the Adolescent Development Program. It's a serve-all initiative. However, it's only implemented in 8 schools. So the government of Trinidad and Tobago, the youth government of Trinidad and Tobago, has finally, after 25 years, heard these cries. And we intend to implement this program in 50 government secondary schools and 50 government primary schools. We will continue to work until this program is in every secondary and primary school in Trinidad and Tobago. This will be also available in community centers for all those students of denominational schools, because we are working to improve the youth of Trinidad and Tobago, not those who attend government schools, not those who attend private schools, but the youth of our country.
Your time has expired.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker.
Member for Princestown.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. I would also like to applaud the collaborative efforts of all those present this morning. I do believe that working together is the solution. However, to address the member before me, there will not ever be a circumstance where I do not believe sexual offenses are not a major issue. Also, in response to the Minister of Health, who said to bring back the old-time days, Mr. Speaker. Bringing back the old-time days would be a brilliant solution if we were to bring back underdevelopment, lack of technology, and poor infrastructure as well. I do not ever believe that going back is a solution, but rather going forward. I would also like to address the member for St. Anne East, who scolded us somewhat and told us we should have looked at the measures before we came, which we did. We have looked at the measures and we have found them ineffective and not prosperous.
Mr. Speaker, arising a point of order 44.8. A member who has spoken on a question may again be heard to offer explanation of some material part of his speech.
Member, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. In my contribution, member for Princestown, I did not at any time call for the return of poor infrastructure or any such thing, but in fact, I related it to where our morals and values as a country was stronger in those days.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. I acknowledge your point. I just suggested that broad brushing the title Old Time Days includes its negative aspects, but I acknowledge its solution. In response to the member of St. Anne East, as I was saying, who said that we did not look at the measures, which we did, as seen in the member's contribution about the fallacies of the criminal justice system. We did do our research and found it ineffective. Mr. Speaker, there is no denying that the crime level in Trinidad and Tobago is atrociously high. Each day, the newspapers report loss of lives, beatings, sexual offenses, and other violent offenses. Youth crime is not only a major health, economic, and social issue, but it is a high priority, high visibility concern today. According to the Caribbean Youth Development Report by the World Bank, Mr. Speaker, youth are a product of a complex set of factors in their environment. That is simply to say that they're influenced by things such as family, friends, schools, neighborhoods, and their overall living conditions. According to the World Health Organization, Mr. Speaker, some 200,000 of the homicides committed globally are committed by persons aged 10 to 29 years old. That accounts for 43% of homicides globally overall. This cannot be so, Mr. Speaker, because youth homicides and violence not only contribute to the global burden of premature death, injury, and disability, but they also impact the social and psychological functioning of the citizens. That is to say, friends, families, and communities. What's more, it's statistically proven, Mr. Speaker, by the World Health Organization that youth crime increases the cost of health, criminal justice services, and welfare, therefore reduces the productivity of a country. This just emphasizes how detrimental this issue is to the country and how necessary the motion put forth by the Leader of the Opposition is. While there are institutions and organizations put into place, such as the Police Youth Club and the Young Men's Christian Association, Mr. Speaker, they are not nearly sufficient, as proven by the annually rising number of offenses in youth aged 15 to 24. In fact, in an article from the Newsday dated Monday, the 6th of October 2014, written by Cecily Asson, it chronicles youth crime prevalence in my constituency, the constituency of Princestown, and what he said was interesting. He said society has contributed to the creation of those labeled as potential criminals in Princestown West Secondary School. The article went on to emphasize how we need alternative measures to provide the desperately needed opportunities for the youth. In a survey that was carried out in the same article, the responses from the public fell along the line that something needed to change, and opportunity was a way to do it. Therefore, I propose that we combat this through the development of the education system, skills of trades, and the enforcement of already existing laws and guidelines. According to the 2009-2010 National Incident-Based Reporting System, NIBRS, 62% of all crimes committed by juveniles occurred on school days. This effectively criticizes the education system. There are approximately 483 schools in Trinidad and Tobago, but more emphasis needs to be placed on the development of skills such as home economics, woodwork, welding, goldsmith skills, and agricultural skills. This creates positions in society for students who would rather desert the system, due to lack of success, discouragement, and a loss of self-actualization, and turn to an avenue of crime for a source of income, as said before, stability, and most importantly, self-esteem. By emphasizing these programs in the school, we create a legal place in the country for the misguided youth. Also, by effectively integrating these programs, we lend them an avenue for a form of expression and natural success due to raw talent. By eliminating the stigma,
Member, your time has expired.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I seek the agreement of the House to continue to speak for 3 minutes in order to complete my contribution.
Honourable members, the question is that the speaking time of the member for Princess Tong be extended by 3 minutes. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those against say no. I think the ayes have it. Member, you may continue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. By eliminating the stigma of lesser skills, so-called, and implementing them in all secondary schools, as we've seen as the target age for these juvenile offences, we create a place where youth can get recognition and therefore diminish the age for rebellious acts such as crime and diminish frustration and aggression at not finding a place in an academic atmosphere. Also, Mr. Speaker, the enforcement of rules and laws and guidelines that already exist is necessary. For example, in the Education Act, along with there being sufficient schools for all children of the compulsory schooling age, in Clause 12, Section 1, subsection F, dealing with duties of the ministry, it says, vocational or technical schools, or vocational or technical departments of schools, providing education suitable for craftsmen and technicians. This needs to be enforced immediately, Mr. Speaker. And where these programs already exist, they need to be revamped to the highest potential, because the numbers show that they are not working to their highest potential. Also, the enrollment guideline dealing with all children aged 6 to 12 must be enrolled in school. That also needs to be enforced, Mr. Speaker. For if we watch them and walk with them step by step throughout their socialization, we can see where the influences of crime come in and nip it immediately. To quote the father of our nation, Dr. Eric Williams, allow me to read from his quote. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You, the children, yours is the great responsibility to educate your parents. Teach them to live together in harmony. To your tender and loving hands, the future of the nation is entrusted. In your innocent hearts, the pride of the nation is enshrined. On your scholastic development, the salvation of the nation is dependent. You carry the future of Trinidad and Tobago in your school bags. This was Dr. Eric E. Williams on August 30th, 1962 at the Independence Youth Rally. This is an eloquent way of saying, Mr. Speaker, that we have to provide opportunities for the youth, for them to rise from perhaps less than savory circumstances, as we are dependent on them for the future stability of Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Minister of Public Administration.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As the MP for San Fernando East and the Minister of Public Administration, I agree with the motion raised by opposition that measures need to be put in place in order to reduce the increasing involvement of the youth in violent crime in our country. Mr. Speaker, all these wonderful programs and opportunities for the youth raised by my fellow colleagues in government in the House today would all collapse if they are not properly monitored and evaluated. This is where I would like to raise my first objective, which is the improvement of the monitoring and evaluation systems of the programs for the youth. Mr. Speaker, I believe that this will lead to a reduction in youth involvement in violent crime in our country, as the programs available to prevent this issue will run more efficiently in terms of optimizing the available resources and using taxpayers' money more wisely as we should be given the current state of our economy. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, we the government will be able to afford and maintain these programs for the youth that they so need to prevent them from getting into a possible life of violent crime. Mr. Speaker, in 2014, a national monitoring and evaluation policy was proposed by the Ministry of Planning and Sustainable Development. The policy was based on creating a monitoring and evaluation system, whereby the system would work where you'll conduct needs assessments, and from these needs assessments, you'll find out what programs need to be implemented or improved, right? And then afterwards, when we change it, you'll have evaluations, and from these evaluations, you use predictive analytics and some other techniques to continue to improve it to meet the changing needs of the country, such as what we're here today for, measures to reduce the involvement of youth in violent crime. Mr. Speaker, the duty of my ministry under this policy is to provide training for individuals in the monitoring and evaluation units at the various ministries. There are currently 12 ministries that have monitoring and evaluation units. However, Mr. Speaker,
I have realized that the problem with the monitoring and evaluation system is that most of the positions aren't filled. This is why I intend to increase the number of individuals who go under the monitoring and evaluation training provided by my ministry under the Public Service Academy, PSA, so that these vacant positions can be filled and monitoring can occur more efficiently. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, we the government also plan to have an expansion of the OJT program, which has already been providing jobs for thousands of young people in Trinidad and Tobago. That's right, Mr. Speaker. Thousands of young people in Trinidad and Tobago are already employed through this program, making an honest income and carrying themselves towards a brighter future. Just as the leader of the opposition was saying, we want to have a successful youth that is based on success. And this is one of the programs that's leading towards this happening on a broader scale. Mr. Speaker, expansion will lead with the prolonging of the program, whereby OJT workers that show outstanding performance meeting all probation criteria will get permanent positions in the various institutes that they are working in. Mr. Speaker, we will also ensure that the OJT workers are paid on time and that they are not exploited for their labor, as was the previous issue. And we will be doing this using our new and improved monitoring and evaluation units. Mr. Speaker, we the government believe that by the expansion of the OJT program, more youth will get a greater sense of purpose in their lives. And this purpose, we hope, will drive them to stay away from a life of violent crime, becoming greater citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. As the MP for Arima said, we create the youth for the future. Mr. Speaker, a lot of our young people complain about not knowing about the programs and opportunities available for them by the government. This is where I'd like to introduce my final objective, which is the enhancement and promotion of programs and opportunities available for the youth. Mr. Speaker, currently, all programs and opportunities available for the youth are advertised on all local television stations, as well as some local radio stations, and all newspapers. Mr. Speaker, social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter are also used in order to promote these programs. However, Mr. Speaker, these ways of promotion are effective, but we the government want to try a new initiative where it will be more appealing to the youth by actually having young people, talented young people, come up with designs for the promotions of the opportunities and programs,
Honorable Member, your time has expired.
Mr. Speaker, I seek the agreement of the House to continue to speak for 3 minutes in order to complete my contribution.
Honorable Members, the question is that the speaking time of the member for San Fernando East be extended by 3 minutes. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against say no. I think the ayes have it. Member, you may continue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So as I was saying, we the government would like to take a new initiative by appealing to the youth more by having talented young individuals come up with the ideas and designs for the promotions, and by this we will provide a job opportunities for them by which they will be well paid for their creations. Mr. Speaker, these job opportunities would be informed through all educational and vocational institutes, as well as with the use of village councillors, because not all citizens of Trinidad and Tobago between the ages of 15 to 24 would have a television or access to internet. We have to cater for all our youth. Mr. Speaker, at the end of the day, we must remember that we can't force the youth to participate in the programs available for them. We must also remember that all solutions brought to the House today, when implemented, will take time to work. Mr. Speaker, the situation will only change when we, the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, learn to work with one another and the government in order to create this change. Mr. Speaker, I thank you.
Member for Chaguanas West.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd first like to start by addressing the member for St. Anne's East. He came here this morning and he sat and listened to all the different statistics, the alarming statistics about youth crime, and still questioned the legitimacy and relevancy of the motion put forward here today. Mr. Speaker, he even went further to ask the opposition, what are you doing? Well, Mr. Speaker, what is the government doing? Because clearly all these programs that are being put in place have not been effective. Else we would not have to be here right now having this discussion. St. Anne's East, I would just like to tell him that what we are doing is putting forward this motion. And if we were in government, the Minister of Works would probably have come here and told us something about all the PH taxi drivers that are raping young women in Trinidad. The Minister of Health wouldn't have been focusing on only the hotspots, but also the rest of the country, because youth need development throughout the entire country and not just those hotspots. Mr. Speaker, it's clear that the youth of Trinidad and Tobago are continuing down a very dangerous road. They are continuing to be largely involved in violent crime. And it is high time that we put measures, urgent measures rather, in place to reverse the ill habits plaguing our nation's youth. Mr. Speaker, I would like to reference a story.
Remember, give way.
No, my time is short, sorry. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to reference a story that took place at a high school in my district, where a young man had his cell phone confiscated. And he was so angry with the authorities that he left school, went home to get his gang, and came back after school hours, cut the fence behind the school, entered the principal's office to retrieve his device. And after getting his cell phone, he set the office afire. Luckily enough, the fire brigade made it there in time to put out the fire from burning the entire school. But however, those students didn't stop there. They continued to the staff room. They vandalized the staff room and stole some important documents. Even more saddening is that one previous teacher of the student is quoted as saying that that is not the first time the student was caught dabbling in fire. Mr. Speaker, what I'm saying is that we need more stringent and strict measures to deal with these offenders. We have heard countless programs by the government this morning, countless programs. But what is being done to deal with those students who are just bent on breaking the law, Mr. Speaker, because there are going to be those few that are spoiling the bunch, and we need to pick them out. How are we going to deal with these students? Mr. Speaker, as the government, we are advocating that charges be put in place, and the charges will be placed on the parents.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to stand on the Standing Order 48-1.
Honorable Member, I disagree. Member for Chaguanas West, please continue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So what we are advocating as the opposition is that we have charges be put in place, and the charges will be placed on the parents of these children who are giving trouble in the school system. Those children caught on the compound with illegal weapons, with drugs, misconduct, or abusing the authorities, cursing. Put the charges in place. Anywhere from $500 to $2,000, depending on the offense, will be placed on the parents of these children, Mr. Speaker. And this should do two things. It would deter the student from going along that path, and it would ensure that the parent makes sure that their child is properly cared for and they know what is going on with their child. Mr. Speaker, the second issue that I'd have to raise this morning is an issue on counseling. These students need to be counseled. They need someone to talk to them. So what we are advocating as well is that counseling be given to all these at-risk students. And the teachers would help in picking out these students because the teachers know them. And these students should be counseled every day before class. So class starts at 8, and these students should reach here for 7:30 to receive their mandatory counseling on anger management, conflict resolution, education, and gang training. Because these students need to go through the day on the right mind, in the right mindset. Mr. Speaker, secondly is an issue that occurred a few years ago. And the thing is that crime doesn't just affect the victim. Crime affects the victim's family, it affects the community at large, and the nation more so. In April...
Member, your time has expired.
Mr. Speaker, I seek the agreement of the House to continue to speak for 3 minutes in order to complete my contribution.
Honorable members, the question is that the speaking time of the member for Chaguanas West be extended by 3 minutes. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against say no. I think the ayes have it, member. You may continue.
Thank you, members. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The issue took place in April of 2013, where a family of 6, a father, a wife, and his 4 children, are watching TV at night. And some men come to the door. The wife answers the door, and she sees 3 men who request to speak to the father. On getting to the door, the father is shot fatally in front of his 4 young children. And when I say young, I mean the ages of 4 to 9. And these children, up till today, have received no sort of counseling whatsoever. And you know what's strange enough? The eldest son is now said to be a troublemaker in the school system. Mr. Speaker, what we are advocating is mandatory counseling for all the students, all the young people who have been directly affected by any sort of violent crime. Whether a family member was raped, whether they were raped, whether a family member was killed and they witnessed it, they need to be counseled before being sent back into the school system or before being walking around in the streets as normal people, because they have been affected. And that is the only way that could be treated and dealt with. Mr. Speaker, this morning we have heard all of these different programs and programs upon programs. I couldn't even stop writing because there's so many programs. But the thing is that the motion clearly says we need urgent measures. Because you know what? This evening, another murder might take place. And it might be another youth. Another rape might take place. And it might be another youth. So we need to put measures in place as soon as possible. We can't have programs that are going to start in the next 10 or 15 years, as many members would have said you need time. We don't have time, and that is why we are here discussing this matter. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for San Fernando West.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First, in response to the opposing member, my Minister of Health did not plan to go into hotspot areas only to provide the health care, but he was more focusing on that area because that is where the at-risk are more. So it's just raising the issue and focusing on that area so it will be specialized. And to get into my point, as the Attorney General, my role is to regulate and review some of these legislation that was put in place. And some of the legislature, like changing the mandatory age to stay in schools from 6 to 16. I would like to expand on this because we all can agree that even when you put the mandatory age to 16, some students would see it as a chore to be going to school every day. But my point here is the reason for these children being so-called lazy or alienated from the school system is because of the lack of learning. I'd like to refer to Howard Gardner's theory of multi-intelligences that state each individual prefers to show their talent through different learning styles. So some might prefer visual, some might prefer musical, some might prefer linguistic. But our education system right now, although it is very effective in building lawyers and doctors, it focuses on logical and linguistic only. And as the member for Princeton rightfully said, we also need to focus on the craftsman, Mr. Speaker. So what I propose is that we take Howard Gardner's theory into foundational subjects, Mr. Speaker, so that certain students who prefer kinesthetic learning, and I could give an example here, that a student was doing history class and receiving low grades, and he couldn't understand writing long novels. But his teacher taught him in a way that he could use artifacts, kinesthetic, using something with your hands. And he related the artifact to the history. And it is assessments in this way, Mr. Speaker, that we can get all the children to feel involved. And what I suggest is that we continue to use technology to improve using Howard Gardner's theory, that because we have systems in place that we could provide laptops for in the school classrooms, Mr. Speaker, because technology is a factor that touches on all the learning styles. Like there, you can compose music, you can use editing software, you can use mathematical calculations, and this touches on most of the learning styles. So technology is the closest way we can get to involve all the students, Mr. Speaker. And you may ask, how can we monitor this? Well, we at the government, we intend to give grants to the schools so that they can award students for doing great in their classrooms. We can.
Honorable Member, I'd like to direct you to Standing Order 48.1. Please tie your contribution back to the motion being discussed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, in tying the contribution to the motion, I'm just referring to all these things because the ages 6 to 16, these are where our youths are very impressionable, and keeping them into the education system will keep them out of the streets. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So what we'll have is people in the ministry going to schools and monitoring the teachers and making sure that they are using these systems to guide the teachers and get them to use these teaching styles to touch across all the at-risk students who are alienated.
Honorable Member, your time has expired.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would just like to conclude saying that, Mr. Speaker, I seek the agreement of the House to continue to speak for 3 minutes in order to complete my contribution.
Honorable Members, the question is that the speaking time of the member for San Fernando West be extended by 3 minutes. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against say no. No. I think the ayes have it. Member, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So this, what we are trying to impose here, using multiple teaching techniques to give belongingness and a sense of uniqueness to the youth, so that they don't go into the life of crime and that they stay in the education system. I believe it will help across the board. So implementing this throughout government schools will just be a start, and as it is monitored by the ministry, it will continue to aid the youth in Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Point Up here.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I've had the privilege throughout the day to listen to all the contributions, both on the opposition as well as the government. And in many of the presentations, especially on the government side, they have always reiterated the point of all the programs and the programs and the programs, especially the Minister of Culture and the Minister of Works. However, I would like to say we do acknowledge and observe that the programs were previously instated. However, as members on my side have stated, they are currently ineffective, which is why we are here debating it in the first place. Also, related to the Minister of Culture, he was very kind to point out so many of the various programs and whatever that he has within his ministry. However, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to direct him to a study done by STTE as well as NIHUS, if I'm able to read it out, as well as show him, that they, in this study, well, first to begin, the report evaluates the economically important sectors of Trinidad and Tobago to expand economic contribution to the country. Firstly on the list was in community development, arts and culture. And in many instances, they talked about creativity in terms of art, animation, music, visual and performing arts, dance, film, and also, most importantly, fashion. Mr. Speaker, if you go on the beaten passing the bus route, you'll notice plenty of the artwork on the walls there. That was done by the young people of the community. Therefore, taking that into consideration, we recognize that there are many talented youth within the community who would like to, expand onto that into the future.
Will the honourable member give way?
I will, yes.
If you were listening to my contribution, I was saying that we will create job opportunities based on giving talented youths to create designs for advertisements and promotion to the various programs. So if you were listening, you would hear that. So your point right now, it's sort of being repetitive to what I said and saying that how we don't have this, but we as the government are planning to implement this. So I think you probably won't listen well enough.
I do recognize your point. However, I am looking at it on a national level, not only in terms of social media, as they said, but we are looking at it on a total level, as well as to make money for the country. That is the important thing. Mr. Speaker, as I continue, I'd like to address the Minister of National Security. Mr. Speaker, in a Newsday report on Sunday, January 16, 2011, and if I may be allowed to read from it, a former Minister of National Security, more specifically Minister John Sandy, stated that he blamed youth crime on a growth in criminal gangs in urban areas, high availability of firearms, juvenile delinquency in the school system, and the drug trade. However, Mr. Speaker, in her contribution, I heard nothing related to these things to help curb the problem. Therefore, I would like to give a few suggestions of first and foremost tackling the fact of the drug trade as well as firearm imports into the country. By tightening up borders, by increased control, increased detection rate, because according to a report done by the OSAC, which is the Overseas Security Advisory Council, a section of the United States federal agencies, they stated that the detection rate for serious crimes for the past 5 years has hovered around the 6 to 7% mark, while arrest rates have been around 23 to 25%. Taking this into consideration, this is a matter of grave concern. However, I cannot fully blame the Minister of National Security. I must also throw a little blame on the Minister of Finance for cutting some of the allocation in this year's budget. Mr. Speaker, last year, the budget allocation...
Will the honourable member give way?
No, unfortunately, time is of the essence right now. Yes, Mr. Speaker. Last year's budget in national security, the allocation was 10.81 billion. However, this year, it has dropped to 7.625 billion. 3.185 billion that could have been put towards upgrading detection systems, specifically in GPS detection, as well as the rapid response unit of the police service. Also, I'd like to point out to the Minister of National Security that no youth has the connections and the resources to import the amount of guns and drugs in the country. According to an article in the Trinidad Express dated September 18, 2013, and if I may be allowed to read, the reporter stated that many urban youth groupings like this are vulnerable and could be exploited by unscrupulous moneyed elements in the society who have the wherewithal to import weapons or drugs. Taking this into consideration, Mr. Speaker, the Minister of National Security needs to tighten up her ministry and get things done. Mr. Speaker, I'd also like to touch on the point of tourism. Specifically,
time has expired.
Mr. Speaker, I seek the agreement of the House to continue to speak for 3 minutes in order to complete my contribution.
Honourable members, the question is that the speaking time of the member for point of pay be extended by 3 minutes. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Those against say no.
No.
I think the ayes have it. Member, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members of the House. As I was saying, back to tourism. In the same report done by STTE and NEHUS, it was stated that tourism has the ability to generate up to 25% of the country's GDP. However, right now, due to the underdevelopment of this industry, the GDP generated from tourism stands at only 5.2%. Taking this into consideration, Mr. Speaker, more things need to be done. And specifically, in the report, they outlined the need of going towards art, culture, as well as the upgrading in arts and craft to help generate money in this industry. Finally, Mr. Speaker, I'd also like to point out to the Minister of Public Utilities that while she delivered a very strong and enlightening speech, I'd like to point you to something more related to the portfolio, to your portfolio. In recent years, I've done a report on bills related to the telecommunication service of Trinidad and Tobago. In the year 2006, a bill was close to $51. 5 years after, in 2011, it reached $132. And finally, this year, 2016, it is now $193. The point I'm making, Mr. Speaker, the youth involvement in crime has always been blamed on socioeconomic problems. And taking this into consideration, Mr. Speaker, it is obvious that the government is rather trying to draw out money from the families. Families where youth may have problems. You may have problems getting things. Sure.
So you came and you stated about telecommunication bills, but is it mandatory for each family to have a telephone when we have cell phones available? Aren't there ways to help them to make... Oh, sorry.
Honourable Member, when interrupting, please refer to the Standing Order 47-1.
Where's 47? Oh, that has to be in because I was in here.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Basically, the point I'm trying to make is that in terms of socioeconomic development, I understand your point. I do understand your point. However, really and truly, everybody does need a phone now. When you look at it, everybody does need a phone, right? Mr. Speaker, in terms of the socio-economic development, these bills are too high. Therefore, I asked the Minister of Public Utilities to try and see what she can do to help reduce some of these bills allocated to the public. In closing, Mr. Speaker, we do recognize that the government over the years have tried many initiatives to reduce youth crime. However, to this day, they are still ineffective, and we haven't seen any change. Therefore, we keep pleading to the government to bring more effective and fresh methods to the public. Thank you.
Honourable Members, before calling upon the next speaker, I would like to bring to your attention that when standing and interrupting during another speaker's contribution, please stand on the point of order and ensure that your interruption is relevant to what the member is speaking about. I now call upon the member for Labrie, the Minister of Energy and Energy Industries.
Mr. Speaker, firstly, I would like to say that the reason our initiatives will take a while to be implemented is because we actually want them to be effective. Mr. Speaker, in 2015, the Trinidad and Tobago Crime and Safety Report by the OACS indicated that the government of this republic faced a number of challenges, most notably an overburdened legal system, disenfranchised youth, and a negative influence of guns, drugs, and violence. Mr. Speaker, it is with this in mind that the initiatives to be implemented in my constituency will address the domains of work, education, creativity, and community. In 2012, Mr. Speaker, the Police Youth Club of Labrie organized a march in an attempt to start a conversation about crime in their communities. Mr. Speaker, this march was not organized by the administration, but by the young people of my community. Additionally, in that very year, a workshop was held addressing the issue of anger and ways in which our young people can manage it. It is my honor, Mr. Speaker, as a Member of Parliament for Labrie, to implement initiatives that will positively influence the lives of the youth in my constituency. Such initiatives being a Learn to Serve program, where young professionals from the constituency give back to their communities by inspiring, teaching, and introducing the idea of a life different from what those underprivileged children in my constituency may be privy to witnessing. The second initiative being one geared towards those youth in my constituency who are talented and interested in the arts, to not only be given the opportunity to portray their gifts, but also to be utilized in disseminating information about the implications of a life of crime to our young people, Mr. Speaker. This initiative will be carried out through schools and our community centers. Finally, Mr. Speaker, being the Minister of Energy and Energy Industries, a final initiative geared towards renewable energy. An initiative that will be brought about to ignite the spark and interest in renewable energy, Mr. Speaker. This initiative will not be implemented only at the tertiary level, but at the primary school level, taking full advantage of our young and creative minds. Mr. Speaker, our children will be given the opportunity to create and be innovative using renewable energy, encouraging their ability to adapt and learn. Okay. In order to fully maximize the potential of the constituency of Labray, I will employ the very young people in my constituency who were afforded the opportunity to receive a tertiary level education, Mr. Speaker, to monitor these initiatives, not only minimizing wastage, not only saving the taxpayers of this country millions of dollars by minimizing wastage and ensuring efficiency, but also by creating employment in my constituency. Mr. Speaker, it is time that as a country we invest in our grassroots innovators. It is time that we nurture the positive characteristics of our young people, Mr. Speaker. It is time that we not only educate but inspire our young people. It is the responsibility of every member of parliament sitting here today to ensure that every child in every community is given the opportunity to reach their full potential. I stand firm, Mr. Speaker, in the belief that all the initiatives mentioned here today will guarantee that Trinidad and Tobago has a future full of innovative, creative, hardworking, and morally sound young adults. Thank you.
Member for Bataria Sound.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would first like to begin with a simple phrase that my parents have been singing in my ears of my early understanding. And that phrase is, crime does not pay. If we take a look around in our society, we would see that the strategies set up by the government and the criminal elements within the communities is awfully pulling and tugging on the minds of the young. Mr. Speaker, there's a fight and a struggle, and as one holy book says, there is a warring in my head. Things I ought not to do, I find myself doing. And that is a challenge that faces the young people today. So my question, therefore, is, which of these elements, such as, let's say, gang leaders in the community, and the right done by the people is winning, and why are they winning? Mr. Speaker, in this country, Trinidad and Tobago, we have declared the streets the winner. Mr. Speaker, the streets I declared is the criminal elements. Why have I concluded that the criminal elements are winning the battle of the mind of the young people? Let me explain. Our biggest problem is, where do we start or begin? The government, which is introducing, for example, these outreach programs for the youth, hoping that they will gravitate towards such positive influence, is the wrong starting point. Mr. Speaker, while the institutions such as the church, the home, the school have its positive impact, the statistics that has been proven are indicating that the battle against these criminal elements is the success or failure to any government initiative. Mr. Speaker, while active youth facilities, mentorship programs have their place, they also have their time. Putting these strategies in place before dealing with the real issue in the community is like putting the cart before the horse. Mr. Speaker, there are young people living in areas who are involved in violence seeing gang leaders living lavishly, while honest family members are struggling to make ends meet. Now, how can we tell that youth who is involved in violence that crime does not pay? Mr. Speaker, our society has screwed the concept of right and wrong in favor of the wrongdoer. It is something that the government must tackle head on. That concept must be reversed.
But remember, for Parental giveaway.
I have spoken to several teachers in schools, and they told me that their biggest problem in dealing with deviant youth who are involved in violence is to help them to recognize what is considered to be right and what help them to consider to be wrong. Why is it so, Mr. Speaker? It is so because many of the criminal elements within the communities are examples, staring them in their face every day. Mr. Speaker, the young people must see that consequences of any illegal act is punishable, and those who commit such will be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. We want to start somewhere, Mr. Speaker. We should start there. Start in the community where these youths are being distracted. This can only happen if the government deal with all aspects of crime, be it white collar or blue collar, in a meaningful way, and to push for legislations that would make our justice system effective. Mr. Speaker, it is only then we can point the youth in a positive direction, and that the implementations of these strategies and solutions that they are putting into place would be of high success rate. Mr. Speaker, for this will make Trinidad a better place. But my suggestion is that we have to deal what is the source, what is pulling them to that kind of life. If we just put in these strategies and think that they will go, no, they have a fight as well. So that is my contribution, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Minister of Tourism.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, first I would like to go back to something that the member for Komoto Manzanilla said. He stated that the programs that we have are not working, and that in 2013 to 2016 there were 713 serious crimes. Mr. Speaker, in my midst right now, I have a survey that was done by the Acting Assistant Commissioner of Police for Community Relations, Mr. Ennis Joseph. He found that in 2014, there were 57 serious crimes committed by students. But in 2015, there were only 45. Mr. Speaker, this is a decrease. Also, Mr. Speaker, if we look at the program, this study was done after
May the
program.
honourable member give way?
Sure.
My colleagues only stated, wasn't referring to 1 year specifically, but the 3 years combined. So yes, even though it is a decrease in 1 year, but he's talking about from 2013 to 2016 and how serious it is occurring in Trinidad and Tobago.
Okay, I acknowledge that, but we are looking at a decrease from 1 year, so we can take what was working and implement it back into the current situation. Right. Mr. Speaker, this study was done after the programs of the TTPS, like the Trinidad and Tobago's police service. The programs were like the Youth Police Club, also like the City program, which was the caring intervention for troubled youth, or even the National Schools Anti-Bullying Program. Mr. Speaker, these programs were working. What we need to do is fix what was not working in these programs. Also, Mr. Speaker, the government believes that youth development is fundamental to the creation of a safer and more productive society. So we, the government, will have more programs that help develop the morals and values of the youth of this nation. One of these suggestions would be to expand the City program to every single policing division of Trinidad and Tobago. Another would be to work closely with all ministries to have appropriate apprenticeship programs, to give the youth opportunities to see different jobs and different aspects of the country so that they can go forth and find a job, not just in, let's say, a doctor or lawyer, but they find a work in the tourism aspect. Also, Mr. Speaker, in Tobago, there is a low crime rate, not as high as in Trinidad. This is mainly because the youth in Tobago have a more in-touch sense of culture. That's why, as the Minister of Tourism, I plan to implement activities and programs which allow the youth to come and form cultural activities, provide for the culture of the country. These programs would help boost tourism because the more culturally diverse the country is, the more tourists will come. And if the more tourists come, they would generate more revenue. And this also creates opportunities for the young people. So, Mr. Speaker, in concluding my little contribution, I would like to say that the government of Trinidad and Tobago right now cares about the holistic development of the young people. Mr. Speaker, I thank you.
Member for Caroni Central.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Firstly, Mr. Speaker, I would like to begin today. We've heard the government back and forth, numerous contributions, and from what I have heard thus far is that this government seems to be focusing only on poverty and that the youth that are affected by poverty, and they are making it sound as if only the youth that are faced by poverty are those capable of committing violent crimes. What about the youth of the nation that are more fortunate or that have wealth? Who is holding them accountable, Mr. Speaker? If you asked me, if I was sitting at home hearing this government speak, I would feel highly disrespected, especially as an impoverished person, feeling that this government is stating that because I am in such a condition, only me or my peers will lead down to this path. Mr. Speaker, we've heard numerous contributions. Also, pointed out by the Minister of Sport, she suggested that we move the compulsory age of schooling from 6 to 16. This will in fact prove to be very counterproductive, Mr. Speaker. What will our nation's youth do in that meantime? How much sport, how much time can they be allotted to be a child? What about pertinent development through their education and academics? Now, yes, Mr. Speaker, we understand the need for the growth for those that aren't academically inclined, but this is not the way, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, thank you. The member for Lopino and Bonaire West also stated, again, on poverty, and they also stated that they will implement the use of social workers in terms of home and whatnot. What I would like to suggest, building on what he said, he made a very good point, but to build on that, I say we take it further. We go into the homes, we have social workers doing checks on families for students or children or even youth between the ages of 15.
May you give way?
I'm pressed for time.
No problem.
No. Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I now recollect my thoughts. That we take it a step further because there is a cultural shift. There's a breakdown in the parenting system, Mr. Speaker. Some of our parents have run slack where we now have children that are growing up as their own adults. And how are we to monitor this? So therefore, I suggest that the government
take this a step further and have social workers doing, whether it be random and private checkups on students that they have found via recommendation of teachers to be heading down a dangerous path. Also, Mr. Speaker, another suggestion that I would like to put out, and this one goes out to the Minister of CARICOM and Foreign Affairs. I would like to suggest that, you know what, we take a step back. We look at fixing this problem over the span of a generation towards the education system. And what I would like to suggest for said minister and also the Minister of Education is that we take a look towards the leaders of education in the world, such as Singapore, Finland. I suggest that we take a look at their education system because they have systems that are more guaranteed, that are more geared towards true excellence, what I would call it. They take a step back from all this competitive education, and what they focus on is the true growth and development of their youth. And if you look at these nations, Mr. Speaker, you would also notice that they also thrive on very low crime rates. Their children are performing. They are better able to get jobs, Mr. Speaker. So what I would like to suggest is that they take this into consideration and imagine in just a mere 20 years, from what I believe, if we totally revamp our education system and our social services, we can fix the problem. We've heard the government bring about all these programs and everything, but not one member, Mr. Speaker, has given a time frame.
Member, your time has expired.
With the agreement of the House, I would like to beg your leave for my 3 minutes additional speaking so I can complete my contribution.
Honorable members, the question is that the speaking time of the member for Caroni Central be extended by 3 minutes. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against say no. I think the ayes have it, member. You may continue.
Thank you, members. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As I was saying, some of them, such as the member for Dabadi O'Meara and also the Minister of Education and San Fernando East, they have made some very good points, and I would applaud them for that, but it seems only a few members of our gracious government seems to be thinking straight, Mr. Speaker. Furthermore, as I was saying in my last point, all these incentives, when, Mr. Speaker, when will they be implemented? Soon? That is all we're hearing. Is this a new movie coming soon? No, Mr. Speaker. Our nation's youth are dying. 50% involved in violent crimes in schools, and the most that they can tell our nation is soon, Mr. Speaker. We need figures.
Will the member give way?
Sure, member.
You ask so much to get...
I'd like to bring to the attention of all members of the House that when asking to give way, you either stand on a point of order or to elucidate, meaning you seek to gain clarity, not give clarity.
Yeah, I just wanted to be clear on the fact that you said that you wanted it to be more immediate, our changes, but you just suggested that we take a change that would take 20 years. Please confirm what you're trying to say, please.
My dear member for St. Anne's West, I did not state immediate. What I stated was a time frame. And what I suggested, such a restructure, we have a sort of laissez-faire culture in Trinidad, and this is no overnight fix. What I suggested that we can look at, whereas where I used the example of Finland, they did what they did over a span of a generation, 20 years, and from since then, I believe it was the 1950s to now, it has worked. As we can see, Finland is thriving in education and success. Clear for you? Right. Yes, Mr. Speaker, as I was saying. So therefore, what I am trying to say is that, yes, they have all these ideas, but when will they be implemented? And I beg that they try to take a page out of the opposition's book, and that we all work together. As the member for the Minister for Cultural Development said, this is a we thing. So therefore, if we all work together, we can get this done, Mr. Speaker. It is not a government versus opposition. Thank you.
I call upon the Minister of Foreign and CARICOM Affairs, who has sought leave from Standing Order 44-4 and is allowed to use appropriate visual aid during her contribution.
Some of the opposition members seem to almost attack almost every implementation brought forth today, instead of granting us an optimistic chance to attack youth crime head on. Mr. Speaker, firstly, let me address the member of St. Augustine, who said earlier on made mention of a free day. Mr. Speaker, I need clarity. Is the opposition contributing to criminality? A free day for criminals to bring in guns and receive a stipend and walk away without handcuffs, Mr. Speaker? That is aiding criminality, Mr. Speaker. That is giving business to criminals, and is contradicting what the member of Siparia said, that crime doesn't pay, but you want to pay them. No, I'm short on time, sorry. Secondly, the member of Point of Pay made mention that the national security is more laid back and is not stepping up to the plate. But clearly the member of Point of Pay is sorry, doesn't know about the 18 branches and the 9 divisions under the TTPS police system, which has been implemented in the last 5 years to conquer all aspects of crime. No, I'm short on time. And just to correct the member for Carney Central, the government is not blaming the poor people, but we are simply working on the research and analysis conducted in society, even using theories from sociologists who place crime and deviance on a major factor being poverty. Yes, Mr. Speaker, we acknowledge that youth crime is one of the island's greatest challenge, and it is up to us to address it. The government stands firm and confident in all our implementations and our head-on approaches. Mr. Speaker, today we came from all angles. We are going to the families, the community, the school. We are even bringing forth multiple programs to assist youths from staying away from the life of crime. Mr. Speaker, we acknowledge the early intervention is important and crucial to ensure that the youths of Trinidad and Tobago.
Order 4448, whereby I would like to share clarity on what my speech that was misinterpreted. I do not, my proposition was for a gun amnesty. We're not saying that, okay, it is free for all. This is out there because we are trying to cut back on the guns. We want them to bring it in to get off the street, thereby allowing the person.
Member, you have had your time to speak. Please allow the honorable member to contribution.
As the Minister of Foreign and CARICOM Affairs, it is crucial that we assist in combating youth crime. We aim to work together with the fellow ministries and through our ties with foreign land. Mr. Speaker, we use the foreign policy of Trinidad and Tobago as it's proceeded through its 18 missions and honorary councils. Mr. Speaker, we aim to expand and intensify the country's development and its progress through the bilateral and multilateral incentives of foreign land. Also, Mr. Speaker, from conducting several forms of research and observing closely our neighboring countries, both greater and lesser developed countries, and their methods on combating crime, my ministry has come up with one main incentive. Mr. Speaker, I would like us to take a look into the prisons of Trinidad and Tobago. Mr. Speaker, this doesn't look like a prison cell. This looks like a dog pound for animals, Mr. Speaker. And this has called for the government to reform the prison system and to implement prison rehabilitation. So the member of Kumuto, Manzanilla, and Kuva South, your call has been answered.
Too often we have heard the statement that they come out worse than they have gone in, and Mr. Speaker, we are putting an end to it. After taking a look at Norway, according to an article on Business Insider, together with intelligence from the Bureau of Diplomatic Security, it has gathered to us that Norway incarceration rate is 75 per 100,000 people. Not only that, Mr. Speaker, but when their prisoners leave prison, they stay out with one of the world's lowest incarceration rates at 20%. And this is due to their restorative and rehabilitative prison systems. Mr. Speaker, the Halden prison, to be exact, tries to achieve as much normalcy as possible with the implementation of libraries, proper housing for the inmates, religious classes, and educational classes. And that is what we are trying to implement here in Trinidad and Tobago. Mr. Speaker, it aims to prepare the inmates for a life outside of prison and outside of crime with the vocational and educational programs. Mr. Speaker, this helps develop a holistically developed person to place back into society, but not a criminal on release. This, Mr. Speaker, is a great implementation. It creates employment, it takes a boatload of the already overburdened judiciary system, and it reforms youth from crime. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, great attention needs to be, by the way, this will be implemented from 2016, as of year 2016.
Honourable Member, your time has expired.
Mr. Speaker, I hereby seek the agreement of the House to continue speaking for 3 minutes to finish my contribution.
Honourable Members, the question is that the speaking time of the member for Tobago East be extended by 3 minutes. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those against say no. I think the ayes have it. Member, before you continue, I'd like to remind you to refrain from reading from your speech. You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I've been warned. Mr. Speaker, great attention also needs to be placed to my sister Isle of Tobago. Though we may not have a booming crime rate as Trinidad, but we also suffer from a recent hike in serious crime reports. Mr. Speaker, this has been the cause of uneducated youth, school dropouts, and several other contributing factors. But today, Mr. Speaker, we have these solutions. Under the THA and the Youth Department, we have 3 main governmental units and institutes for youth. And Mr. Speaker, I could tell you, the people of Tobago can tell you that is simply not enough. It is time for some of the already existing programs in Trinidad to venture to the shores of Tobago and reach out their hands to the Tobagonians. I intend, Mr. Speaker, I am going to ensure, Mr. Speaker, that these programs created by my neighboring ministries reach the people of Tobago. And I aim to create a handful of alternatives outside of the school system, not just trade schools, which are a great incentive, but I aim to take one step further, Mr. Speaker, by the establishment of trade on the island in ongoing craft markets, green markets, and other fairs to create an avenue of legitimized hustling. This incentive will not only curb the free time for the basis of crime by the youths, but boost development of the country, boost tourism, and boost the economy. You see, Mr. Speaker, my logic comes after the quote by Henry Ford, "Coming together is the beginning, staying together is progress, and working together is success." And that is what we as Trinidadians, Mr. Speaker, Trinidad and Tobagonians need to achieve in terms of combating youth and crime. Thank you.
Member for Oropouche West.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the constant increase of violent crime in Trinidad and Tobago is heart-aching. Mr. Speaker, over the years we have seen a steady decrease in the age of criminals committing violent offenses, especially those in the school system. Mr. Speaker, with your leave, I would like to share some statistics published by the Express newspapers, which stated that the Trinidad and Tobago Youth Survey shows that 21.5% of students reporting on attacking someone with the intention of harming them. 4.2% of male students reporting to taking a handgun to school, Mr. Speaker. 40.4 male students confess on how easy it will be to get a handgun into the school. And 9% was said to be currently in a gang, and 9.8% were former gang members. And the saddest thing of this, Mr. Speaker, is that 30% of the students reported not wanting to go to school because they were afraid of their lives, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the same article shows that teachers reported that they were not able to identify and analyze school-based assaults where these incidents were occurring. Now, the Minister of Education stated that she would like to put in place counselors and social workers into the school system. But let's be realistic here. A school consists about 500 students, and you'll more than likely put 2 or 3 social workers and 2 counselors. So how much workload is the government planning to impose on these counselors to deal with 500 students? Now I'm not saying that all will be troubled students, but most will be. Now, in order to build on that, why not give the teachers the same training as the counselors?
Mama give away?
No, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Why not give the teachers the same training as the counselors and the social workers, so they will be able to identify these troubled students and deal with them, Mr. Speaker? Now, I agree that these issues I just presented here are not going to be fixed overnight or tomorrow. But I asked, from my colleague stated, we asked for a time frame, Mr. Speaker. How long would the youth of Trinidad and Tobago have to wait in order to feel safe again? My constituency of Oropouche West will be pleased to hear when they'll be able to send their children to school without fearing they won't be able to turn back to home safely, Mr. Speaker. Now, at the beginning of the member for Lopio, Borne West stated, in the beginning of his contribution, he stated that youth and violent crime is not unique to Trinidad and Tobago alone, and gave all these lovely, well, not lovely, but violent crime statistics from Jamaica and Barbados. But let me remind him that he is a part of the government of Trinidad and Tobago, and by defense, they are responsible, together with the opposition. We are all held responsible. No. We are all held responsible for what happens in Trinidad and Tobago, not in Barbados and not in Grenada. And Jamaica, I'm sorry. Now, lastly, the member for Port of Spain, St. Anne's East, asks when will the opposition be satisfied? Mr. Speaker, the opposition will only be satisfied when we have seen a decrease and a change in the violent crime committed by youth in Trinidad and Tobago. We will only be satisfied when a parent can send their child out into the community without fearing that he'll be influenced by gang leaders, sexual offenders, and, well, criminals in the whole, Mr. Speaker. I thank you.
Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as Minister of Finance and Member of Parliament for Diego Martin North East, I want to highlight the approach that our government has to tackle the growing phenomenon of youth crime. Youth crime is rampant in our country. Therefore, the government will be implementing several measures to deal with this. One of the implementations would be a training programs for nationwide for parents. This will be easily accessible, and the government intends to spend a substantial amount to ensure its implementation. But what we must all know is that the majority of crime is committed by persons between the ages of 14 and 24. This leaves a small portion of this group outside the legal definition of a child. Yet we must still come to a realization that crime is a behavior and a state of mind that is nurtured and created over a period of time. Mr. Speaker, there are children in our country, even in my own constituency, who grow up accustomed to the sounds of gunshots, who go to schools where disputes are resolved with fists instead of words, who are raised in homes filled with conflict instead of comfort. Mr. Speaker, these children too are victims of violence, And these children are sometimes the ones who become perpetrators of crime themselves. We know that being exposed to crime at a young age is associated with long-term physical, mental, and emotional harm. And this puts the youth at a greater risk of failing at school or struggling to find and hold a job. And it is more likely for them to turn to criminal activity. Violence, even if it is done by our youth, deprives us of the talents and skills of the portion of the population, preventing the country from reaching its full potential. It sows feelings of alienation and mistrust and contributes to a cycle of poverty, crime, and incarceration. Above all, it degrades our highest ideals, our founding promise that every person has a right to safety, equality, and opportunity. We have provided funding to support and to help reduce violence in Trinidad and Tobago, to help increase school attendance in our nation's schools, and to promote safe communities. We are joining with faith and community-based organizations, family youth groups, and business leaders in neighborhoods from town to town, as well as various ministries, all in an effort to combat crime. We are also working closely with our law enforcement to build and to promote holistic responses to violence and its consequences. Mr. Speaker, our very own Justice Department is proud to play a key role in the groundbreaking approach, which involves being our brother's keeper, keeping our children on the right track, and giving them second chances before these same children become perpetrators of crime. Mr. Speaker, we did not get here overnight. Therefore, a quick, easy fix will not alleviate crime. In fact, there will always be crime, but our government approach is to start with the homes, the children, and tackle the youth crime at its very source. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Mearu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The government seems to have a good idea of what they're doing, but it's not enough. I want to start with the Minister of National Security, who came forward with the increase of security guards in the school system. I agree with you, but your government, as a part of my opposition, the entire parliament, mentioned that children come to school with weapons in their bag. I propose putting metal detectors in schools as well, right? The Minister of Education, school counselors, academic social counselors, the Big Brother program. I agree with that as well. Excuse me. The Big Brother program. This is a good initiative, but we can't train all these counselors. As a matter of fact, I propose that in each standard class, for instance, in the secondary school system, we have standards 1, and there are 3 classes in the standard 1 group. One teacher in that standard class group will be equipped in a psychology training, specifically to deal with child behavioral studies. Mr. Speaker, massive reform to the education system model. I want to implement a massive reform to the education model in regards to the Japanese model. For instance, in Japan, we have where children are taught discipline and manners up until the age of 10, because the Japanese believe that discipline is the structure is the foundation of the society. Mr. Speaker, I believe that we can implement this as a core subject, a core lesson to be taught in the education system. Mr. Speaker, I also want to rebut to the point of the Minister of Borneo West, Lopino, placed in homes. How could you place children in homes when the state doesn't own any?
Well, remember, give away?
No, I will not. The state does not own any homes. As a matter of fact, the state pays subventions to the homes that are already owned by religious boards. Mr. Speaker, crime is everybody's business. It is the family, it is the school, it is the communities, it is the government's business. By definition, crime is any illegal activity conducted by an individual or individuals who infringes on the laws of the land. Mr. Speaker, as of today, 31st October 2016, there are 380 killings in Trinidad and Tobago. In 2012, which was the most recent statistic I was able to acquire, 5.2% of the prison population were juveniles. This gives you an idea how serious youth crime is, Mr. Speaker. And I can't even imagine, I don't want to begin to discuss how important or how...
Mr. Speaker, I rise on a point of order 44.8. Mr. Speaker, I did not say foster homes.
Honorable member, you have had your time to speak. Member from Mayaro, please continue.
Mr. Speaker, as I will continue now, thank you. It is important to understand that crime is on the rise, and if there are 5.2% of the juveniles in jail are there, those figures are increasing as we sit here today, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, parents have neglected their duty to take care of their children. They turn a blind eye to the questionable behaviors and activities of their children. Leave my child alone is what a parent would tell a police officer or someone who is reprimanding his or her child. And then when the police shoot the child, Mr. Speaker, oh, he was a good boy. But by then, Mr. Speaker, salvation is a little too late. Are we going to turn a blind eye to this? I propose, Mr. Speaker, in conjunction with what the Minister for Health mentioned about the training at the prenatal and postnatal level, I propose that we implement child behavioral studies at the prenatal care level. I propose that we introduce family planning at the prenatal care level. That needs to be fact. You're not supposed to sit down and say, all right, well, in 5 years we're going to do this. We need to do this now. By the end of the year, we have to see this coming in. These are
Member
social
for Mayaro,
programs.
your time has expired.
What? Mr. Speaker, I seek the agreement of the House to continue to speak for 3 minutes in order to complete my contribution.
Honorable members, the question is that the speaking time of the member for Mayaro be extended by 3 minutes. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against say no. No. I think the ayes have it. Member, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, I'll hurry up now, Mr. Speaker. The reformation of the healthcare system, Mr. Speaker. In addition to that, I call into question the capacity of the teaching service and their ability to identify social issues in the classroom. Teachers are first responders to these situations. Sometimes these teachers dismiss delinquent students, which cause these delinquent students to fall through the cracks in society. Mr. Speaker, I propose a reformation to the military-led academic training academy program, formerly known as MILAP. Allow me to expand, Mr. Speaker. I believe that MILAP should be turned into a 5-year military school, which is at the option at the SCA level. Not the SCA level, SCA level, at the SCA level. Sorry, Mr. Speaker. This would allow parents to select the school so that they can deal with the disciplinary troubles that they're having with their children. Mr. Speaker, I also propose that children who are expelled from the secondary or the primary school level be sent to MILAT as well. And in addition to that, Mr. Speaker, any child who has been suspended in any academic term and deemed fit by the administration of the school and social counselors be sent to MILAT for disciplinary training. Mr. Speaker, while all these things are geared towards dealing with children and delinquents in our society, it must be understood that our children need love and attention. We have turned a blind eye to this, Mr. Speaker. We believe that these children are adults. Mr. Speaker, it is in the best interest of this Parliament, and specifically the government, to provide our children with empathy, affection, but most importantly, stern development approaches to the reformation of our children. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I call upon the Prime Minister and member for Diego Martin West.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to start off by rebutting against the point of member for St. Augustine. You said that you want to improve the gun legislation, and I agree. Guns are a problem, but the fact of the matter is, guns don't kill people. People kill people. Guns are tools used in murder and other violent crimes, but someone can also use a table. Someone can also use an ice pick. Someone can use anything to kill somebody. I'm not giving the criminals ideas, but we cannot take away the elements of crime and expect it to change. We have to change the mentality of society, and then we can see a positive difference. Now, I would like to continue with someone mentioned that the media is a problem, and I agree. But we cannot control the media. They have freedom of speech and expression. But we do urge them to exercise their corporate social responsibility. Corporate social responsibility, it states that they have to have the benefits, they have to have in mind the benefits of society and the environment. And they have an impact on the environment and society, so they must portray positive impacts on society. For example, in Barbados, it is illegal by law to publish crimes and violent crimes and murder, such as murder, on the front page of their newspapers. As a result, their statistics for crime are very low. Also, part of the media is the music. And we may think that music is just a form of enjoyment. But I beg to differ. Genres such as dancehall and rap contain derogative lyrics to women, sexually immoral statements, and violent acts. And these artists call it real talk, but I call it crime talk. When your body rocks to the rhythm, and the lyrics play on your mind and they infiltrate your thoughts. Mr. Speaker, you know what thought made a man do? And we let our youth listen to these lyrics, and then we wonder why they turn to a life of crime. If it is all that they see and all that they hear, what do we expect? But there's also positivity in music. Music is a stimulant. It can stimulate the left side of the brain, which is academics and logic, and it can also stimulate the right, which is creativity and innovation. We can use this music in our rehabilitation centers as therapy, as a form of expression, and as a form of alleviating pain. And it may seem far-fetched, but it is proven by the American Music Therapy Association to help in their therapeutic sessions. And it is also used in Barbados in their Teen Challenge program, which is one of their correctional facilities. They have a choir, and they use the choir to go and publicize what can go wrong as a criminal, why you should be deterred from this life of crime, and how you can change even if you fall into the tracks of crime. Which is why we need to publicize more positivity. Yes, there are people who fall by the wayside, but there are also people who pick themselves up and dust themselves off and get back into the rhythm of society and become productive members. I would like to reiterate on the point of the Minister of Health. He said that he wants to give psychiatric care by mobile clinics, as well as the Youth to Youth program. And I think that this is a very good initiative. The Youth to Youth program will give them a sense of They will give them a sense of belonging. Because when we are integrated into society, Emile Durkheim, the sociologist, he said that they are deterred from crime. But if they are not into society, if they are not integrated, they have a sense of enemy, normlessness, no sense of belonging, and then they look to gangs to give them leadership, to give them comfort, to give them protection. But if they are given it in communities, if they are given it by their peers, if they are given support from their families and other community members, they will not turn to a life of crime. I also like to reiterate on the point of education with the Big Brother program, the social workers, the religious institution, and homework centers. These are all good initiatives. And yes, they have been shut down multiple times by the opposition. But we must wait and see. Certain things take time. And yes, we may not have time right now, but let us wait and see. Let us have patience. Patience is a virtue.
May the honorable member give way?
I am so sorry, I am limited for time and I have a lot to say.
Your time has expired.
Mr. Speaker, I seek the agreement of the House to continue to speak for 3 minutes in order to complete my contribution.
Honorable members, the question is that the speaking time of the member for Diego Martin West be extended by 3 minutes. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against say no. I think the ayes have it. Madam Prime Minister, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As I said before, as the government, we intend to change the mentality of society, especially our youth. But we as the government, we only have bureaucratic control, and that is limited. But, as the old saying goes, it takes a village to raise a child. And I would like to add to this point by saying it takes a nation to raise a good generation. I'm referring to Emile Durkheim, the well-known sociologist again. All social institutions have a part to play. It is not just the government, it is not just the school, and I heard someone said it before. So we are in agreement. It is a nation's collaborative effort to change this generation. It is a nation's collaborative effort to make a difference. The Minister of Tourism stated that crime is low in Tobago, as well as crime is low in Barbados. I see a link here. They are both extremely cultural. And we wonder, what does culture have to do with crime? But culture is a very intimate part of our It is an intimate part of our life. If we are all connected through culture, then we have no sense of normlessness. We are not enemy. We are not far from society, and we are not disconnected from each other. Therefore, we will not want to hurt each other, and we will not fall into violent crime. As the Minister of Finance said, we must be our neighbor's keeper. And it's, as I said before, it is a collaborative effort of the nation to make a difference. And as we stand here today, as the government, as the opposition, as parliamentarian visitors and members, we make a difference here. But what about the little children in schools, and what about the elderly? Do they make a difference? I would like to say that they do. I refer to an anonymous quote. They said that if you help one person, you cannot change the world. But by helping that one person, you can change their world. And this is the perspective that we want this entire country to follow. As well as in Barbados, they do the same thing. They say that it is a collaborative effort of the entire country, and this is why their crime statistics are low. In Barbados, there were 23 homicides in 2013 compared to Trinidad, when it was 408. In 2014, there were 21 homicides compared to Trinidad, 403. We are seeing that if we work together, we can eliminate crime. But we cannot blame government, we cannot blame opposition, we cannot blame the family, we cannot blame everyone. We cannot play this blame game. We must take this opportunity and reflect on ourselves and see what can we do to eliminate this crime factor. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Siparia.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in response to the issues raised by the members, the member for St. Anne's East, St. Anne's East, he came in here very brave and arrogant and, talking about improving the methods that were already here, right? Mr. Speaker, the methods are already failing, and why need to improve them? We need to change them, Mr. Speaker, right? Mr. Speaker, talking about walking the streets. The opposition should walk the streets through Beetham and everywhere. But Mr. Speaker, while walking these streets, the members of the public came here and criticizing the government, saying that they're being treated unjust. Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Works and Transport, right, in his opening remarks, while speaking about the opportunities, he said that there is enough. Are you insane? How can there be enough? If there were enough opportunities for our young people, then they would not have enough crime. Mr. Speaker, the honourable member said, what? He said there was a statement, a song. Do what you have to do for your country. It looks like he's making it worse. Mr. Speaker, the member for Laventer West also said that the opposition needs spectacles, right? It looks like your spectacles is not working enough. You are not seeing that you are making the country even more worse.
Honourable member, I would like to direct you to stand in order 55-1. Please refrain from the use of insultive language.
Mr. Speaker, I stand corrected. Mr. Speaker, I also do agree with the Minister of Education in her statement in which she said that we must build our youth. With that, Mr. Speaker, when our youth has become successful, our country, Trinidad and Tobago, will become a better place. Mr. Speaker, I do follow this motion, and I hope each and every member here do proceed with this motion for our youth, so that we can make our country, Trinidad and Tobago, a better place, and also let our youth have a successful life. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg.
Honourable members, the question is, be it resolved that this House call on the government to urgently put measures in place to reserve the increasing involvement of youth in violent crime in our country. All those in favour say aye. Aye. All those against say no. I think the ayes have it. I now call upon the Leader of the House.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that this House do now adjourn to a date to be fixed.
Honourable members, before I put the question, allow me to express appreciation on behalf of all members of this Youth Parliament to Trinidad and Tobago branch of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, the CPA, and the Parliament. In particular, the Planning Committee of the Office of the Parliament, which organised this 14th sitting of the National Youth Parliament. Today's debate focused on the prevalence of youth and violent crime in our society and the measures to resolve it. From the information you have presented here today, I have recognized that youth violence harms not only its victims, but also their families, friends, and communities, which in turn affects the life of experience by all and possible resolutions to address some. The contribution made by you, honourable members, were comprehensive and sought to highlight the various issues surrounding the societal issue. We, the members of this national 14th Youth Parliament, trust that the concerns raised and the proposals made during the debate will provide those in authority with a youth perspective on this pressing issue. We wish to express our greatest gratitude to all officials who accepted our invitation and graced us with their presence. To our schools and institutions for selecting us, our families and relatives who exercised patience and assisted us in preparing for this debate, we say thank you. During our intense weeks of tutoring, we were trained by Ms. Catherine Gordon, who coached us on dress etiquette and civility, Ms. Helen Drayton, who took us through the paces with respect to debating skills and aspects of debate, and the staff of the Office of the Parliament, who taught us oratory skills, the process of lawmaking, and the rules of parliamentary practice and procedure. Mention must also be made of the coordinating team of the Parliament, who contributed in varying measures to the successful execution of this event. They provided guidance on how we should utilize all of the skills we learned in our debate earlier today, and to them I say a special thank you. To the Ministry of National Security and the National Infrastructure Development Company, NITCO, and CALUS for the provision of transportation, we say a heartfelt thank you. It was truly a distinguished pleasure to have participated in this annual debate. May I now kindly ask that you remain seated after adjournment for a brief award ceremony. Thank you. Honorable members, the question is that this House do now adjourn to a date to be fixed. All in favor say aye. Aye. All against say no. I think the ayes have it. This House now stands adjourned to a date to be fixed.
Okay. Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. How are you all? Good. Where's the leader of opposition business? What? The chief whip, right? Chief whip, leader of opposition. Oh, I see. I see. Very well then. Welcome everyone. As you all already know, my name is Atiba Wilshire. I'm one of the corporate communications officers here at the Office of the Parliament. It is a pleasure to have you all here for this 14th National Youth Parliament. Yeah. Did you all enjoy the training and stuff that you all underwent over the past couple of weeks? Yes. Yeah? You all learned a lot? Yes. You all would take away a lot from the experience? Yes. Very good. Anybody who said no, I'd have given them a bad eye. Very good. I'm very happy to hear that. It was a pleasure seeing all of the contributions that were made and hearing a lot of the points that were raised. So kudos to you all again. And also kudos to your schools and parents and principals and the members of staff and other persons who came in to train you all. My function here is to facilitate the some brief remarks that are going to be given by some of our distinguished guests, and we are also going to have some prizes being given to you all, which we hope that you all would enjoy. So without any further ado, I'm going to call... very good, very good. Good to have you back. Very good. I'm going to call on the Speaker of the House, the Honorable Bridget Anisette George, to give a little note of congratulations to you all.
Thank you, Mr. Wiltshire, and pleasant good afternoon to the members of Parliament of this 14th National Youth Parliament. Good afternoon to your teachers, your parents, your fellow students. The members of Parliament here present, we have Member Parry, who is the member for Miaro. We have Senator Mark, who is the leader of opposition business in the Senate, and who is the speaker who immediately preceded me. And we have the President of the Senate, Senator the Honorable Christine Kangaloo. Good afternoon also to the members of the staff of the Parliament. I am not going to delay us much with talk because I think we've spent the last number of hours in some really interesting talk. I think you all really need to be commended. They say that imitation is the best flattery. And I would want to say if we in real life do as well as you all did, now, while we do it, everything that is done, there are learning exercises both ways. And for me, there was a lot of learning for me in what I witnessed here. I want to say to the speaker, you do have the temperament for a speaker. I don't know that I have it, but you do. Your whole deportment, the way you sort of conducted the proceedings, you really need to be congratulated. And I think after your closing remarks, no one else should speak. So, thank you very much. In terms of the contributions, I would say that generally they were all very interesting contributions. And I would hope that the exercise doesn't end here for you all. Not everybody is going to be a parliamentarian, but in terms of, and I think the Honorable Prime Minister said it, in terms of, you know, we all have to be contributors to our society. And we contribute in a number of ways. First, to contribute, we must understand. And I think this presents a fantastic opportunity for you to understand how Parliament works. And therefore, it gives you a big duty. One, in teaching other people what you've learned. Also, for you to remain engaged in what goes on, because the business of Parliament is, somebody said it over here, is all our business. Whether we sit in the chamber or outside, it's all our business. And you would see that when you see the statistics for voting, generally they tend to be low. And if people understand, I think, how important the exercise of their democratic right is, I think they will treat it differently. And I say that to reinforce another event that took place in this Parliament today, just before you all began your sitting. And the Parliament launched the 70th anniversary of Universal Franchise. There's a display going on downstairs, and there's also a television program, which I really invite you all to view. But it shows that the right to vote to people who acquire the age of 18 didn't come just so simply. Okay? There was a lot of protests, there were riots, people died for what we now enjoy as a right. And I think if we understand that people died, people who didn't know us, who couldn't even anticipate, because in 1946, none of you all here were even a thought. Your parents most probably won't even I thought, in 1946. And therefore, when universal suffrage came to Trinidad and Tobago in 1946, the people who for decades before fought and struggled and rioted and went to jail for sedition and all of that weren't thinking about the member for Aruka Maloney individually, or the member for Couva North individually, or the member for Tabaquite or St. Joseph. Okay? But their actions were really founded on improving their society. Not just for themselves, for the greater good. And I think if there's any learning that you take from this, is your obligation to improve your society for the greater good. The member for Miaru, I think you spoke about the Japanese model and the 10 years of discipline and as the sort of bedrock of all that is done. And member for Miaru, the real member for Miaru, I think, if I may say, this young man did you credit in that it is refreshing to hear men talk about empathy. And he spoke about empathy, and I forget the other, what they tend to talk about, soft values. There's no soft values. Okay? But it reminded me, I could hear the actual member of Miaru talking about that. And I really want to say that it was really refreshing to hear that coming from a young man. Empathy, spoke about discipline. But, you know, in the contributions, there are things that were done. And I want to particularly refer to, where is he? Aha. The member for Kamuto Manzanilla. No. And this is nothing to be embarrassed about. Okay? In that, the passion with which you were delivering made you make a sort of uncontrolled response. That's human. I think what we needed to learn from that is how you handled it. Okay? And that's a lesson for all of us in life. Sometimes we do things and then we realize, oh, we should not have done that. But I think it's how we respond. We acting in our show, forget the lines. We perform in our dance, we forget the next sort of action. We singing, we bust. But it's how you handled it. Okay? I mean, he apologized immediately, and you could see the actual remorse. And you really need to be commended for that. I think it's something that a lot of us need to model. Okay? Kobe Sandy, the Minister of Social Development and Family Affairs, who made a very effective use of the standing orders in calling for division. Okay, but I don't think your bench realized where you were going. But effective all the same. Let me see if I could pick your name out of here. This is the I know you're going to St. Joseph Convent, St. Joseph. What are you, Minister? Education, Minister? Is it Trade and Industry? Yeah. Minister of Trade and Industry. I was really very impressed by your ability to articulate your views. I mean, not once did you look at those notes. But yet, and you know, when we see the President of the United States speak, right? It's as if you spoke like him, except that I know they have a teleprompter, right? And you have none. But apart from just being able to deliver without looking at your notes, you were fluent, you were articulate, and you had emotion. You know, some of us could just say it off, but almost like a robot, and you really need to be commended for that. Now, generally, you know, I saw members trying to really engage as a debate, okay, to get up and to respond to some of the contributions by previous speakers. And that's really what a debate is about, not just about getting up and speaking. The member for St. Augustine, you know, one wanted to know why you were in the parliament, because you told us you weren't qualified. Yeah. You know? So, you know, why the real life is that to qualify for a member of parliament, one has to be a national. Okay, so sometimes in our preparation we must keep those things in mind. Good delivery, but you nearly lost your seat. Okay. But really, even though I single out some people, even for the little time that I wasn't here, St. Anne's East, I do remember you very well in your delivery also. Even though I wasn't here for a little while, I watched you on television. Okay, I saw everybody who did their presentation, and if it is one thing, it showed that you all took your business seriously, because this is serious business. You all did a lot of research and preparation to be able to get up and speak and to keep your thoughts. You all need to be congratulated. And I think that is really the congratulatory note. Somebody said, this is what youth needs. Is it you, Kobe? Right. Okay. And therefore, I throw it back to you. In that, if youth want to be taken seriously, as you said, they need opportunities. This is an opportunity. And it is to you all to make the opportunity a long-standing opportunity. I'm sure the Parliament would hold itself available to assist. Okay, but it is for you to make it happen. I wish you all well. When I see young people perform like you all, I therefore watch growing old with some sort of comfort and enthusiasm. Okay? And for those of you who may be in a few years to come, I'll be watching you all on TV. I will remember. Okay? And let's hope that this experience serves as a platform for whatever else you go on to do. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and I hope that you all take to heart especially what she said about staying involved in what's going on. Don't ever lose touch, right? Don't wait until you're old like me to now say that you want to stay involved and so on and so on. Yeah? All right. Very good. We have come to the part of the proceedings this afternoon where we are going to give out some tokens of appreciation. Now, the way that we're going to do it is that we're going to give the individual tokens to you guys first, and when everything is wrapped up, we're going to ask your teachers or a representative from your school to collect the school token at the back. Okay? Yeah? Very good. I have to make sure you're paying attention. Yeah. All right. So I'd like to call back to the front to begin the distribution of tokens the Speaker of the House, the Honorable Bridget Anisette George. And I will move over here.
So
Turn it
Mr.
on. You turn it
Richard,
on. Yeah.
Do you want me here or there?
Oh, you look fine.
See? I know you had to please.
And the first token goes to the Speaker of the House, Mr. Sachin Jagannath of ParlView College. Next, Tyrese George of Woodbrook Secondary, the Minister of Planning and Development and Leader of the House and member for Aruka Maloney. Tremaine McGregor of the Faizabad Anglican Secondary, the Prime Minister and Member of Parliament for Diego Martin West. Tyree Campbell of the Trinidad and Tobago Hospitality and Tourism Institute, the Attorney General and Member of Parliament for San Fernando West. Selina Ali of the Arima North Secondary School, the Minister of Finance and the member for Diego Martin Northeast. We'll switch over to some members of the opposition, and we begin with the opposition chief whip, Adrian Wilson of the University of the Southern Caribbean, member of Parliament for Chaguanas West. Darshan Gopal of Ayiri High School, leader of the opposition and member for Siparia. Anthony O'Keefe of Holy Cross College, opposition member for Pointe-a-Pierre. Crystal Nelson of the University of the Southern Caribbean, opposition member for St. Augustine. Jamal Wilson of St. Benedict's College, opposition member for Chaguanas East. Shanice Paul of the University of Trinidad and Tobago, opposition member for Tabaquite. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Next, we would like to call on the President of the Senate, Senator the Honorable Christine Kangaloo, to distribute the next set of prizes. And we go back over to the government side. Darian Cupid, St. George's College, Minister of Labour and Small and Micro Enterprise Development, Member of Parliament for Port of Spain North, St. Anne's West. Michael Joseph of Holy Cross College, Minister of Health and Member of Parliament for St. Joseph. Ricardo Rollock of St. Benedict's College, Minister of Works and Transport, Member for Laventil West. Lexine Roberts of Airi High School, Minister of Public Administration and Member for San Fernando East. Sanjeev Prasad of Waterloo Secondary School, Minister of Tourism and Member for Tobago West. Vivian Wall of Holy Name Convent, Port of Spain, Minister of Public Utilities and Member for W. O'Meara.
Thank you.
Now we switch over to the opposition side. Aswad Harvey, Sixth Form Government Secondary Polytechnic, opposition member for Caroni Central. Ruel Mitchell of Speyside Secondary, opposition member for Kumuto Manzanilla. Shabana Abdul of Waterloo Secondary, opposition member for Caroni East. Edricia Livingston of San Fernando East Secondary, opposition member for Urupuch West. Thank you very much, Madam President. Now I would like to call on the Leader of Opposition Business in the Senate, Senator Wade Mark, to distribute the next round of tokens. Kobe Sandy of Bethany High School, Minister of Social Development and Family Services, member for Lopino Bonnier West. Janessa Campbell of Mayaro Past Pupils Association, Minister of National Security and member of Point Fortin. Dylan Douglas of the Mayaro Past Pupils Association, Deputy Speaker and member for Tunapuna. Alexis Hall of Sixth Form Government School Polytechnic, Minister of Foreign and CARICOM Affairs and member for Tobago East. Ocean George of Speyside Secondary, Minister of Community Development, Culture and the Arts, and member for St. Anne's East. Gabrielle Kinsale of the University of the West Indies, Minister of Energy and Energy Industries and member for Labrie. Lisa Lord of Faizabad Anglican Secondary School, Minister of Communications and member for La Hoqueta Talparo. Sonali Supnanan of Hillview College, Minister of Education and member for Arima. Leah Williams of Holy Faith Convent Penal, Minister of Sport and Youth Affairs, member of Parliament for Diego Martin Central. Lakesh Bailey of St. Joseph's Convent, St. Joseph. Oh, okay, let me write in that A. Thank you. Lakeisha Bailey, St. Joseph's Convent, St. Joseph. Minister of Trade and Industry, member for Maruga Tableland. Now we'll go over to some opposition members, yet again. Ainsley Espinoza of the Arima North Secondary School, opposition member for Urupuch East. Nuruddin Mohammed of Northeastern College, opposition member for Kuva South. Lauren Harewood of Woodbrook Secondary, opposition member for Barataria San Juan. Thank you very much, Senator Mark. At this time, we'd like to invite the Member of Parliament for Mayaro, Mr. Rushton Parry, to present the next round of tokens. We go back to the government side. Caricia Richards of the Diego Martin Central Secondary School, Minister of Agriculture, Land and Fisheries, member for Laventil East MOVA. Alana Peer of the Marabella North Secondary, Minister of Rural Development and Local Government, member for Toco Sangre Grande. Shafin Ali of, let me write in that A again. Shafina Ali of the Marabella North Secondary, Minister of Housing and Urban Development, member for Port of Spain South. That wraps up the government members. Let's go across to the opposition. Sarah Dan of the Vesely High School, opposition member for Naparima. Kira Hackett of St. Joseph's Convent, St. Joseph, opposition member for Princestown. Adam Ali of St. George's College, opposition member for Faizabad. Troy Deshay of the University of the West Indies, opposition member for Mayaro. Lejeune Ali's, Cohen Hamilton Secondary, opposition member for Couva North. And of course, you all know that no sitting could be conducted without the hard work of the parliamentary staff. So we have some tokens for those who played the role of the parliamentary staff who would actually have functions during a sitting. First off, we have Kevia Nelson of the San Fernando East Secondary. She was the clerk of the house. Margaret Mangla of the Northeastern College, assistant clerk of the house. L'Oreal Ramdial of Holy Faith Convent Penal, Marshal of the Parliament. Maya Singh of Cohen Hamilton, Assistant Marshal. Akeem Timothy of the Diego Martin Central Secondary, parliamentary attendant. And Sienna Lewis of Holy Name Convent, Port of Spain, parliamentary attendant. Thank you very much, Mr. Perry. Thank you, Levi. Now, during the sitting, you all may or may not have noticed there were 3 people seated in the media gallery. Yeah? You all know that we were assessing your contributions, the way you spoke, how fluently you spoke, and that kind of thing. You all knew that? Yes. All right. You all knew why we were doing that? Why were we doing that? Okay. Well, we were doing that because at every sitting of the National Youth Parliament, we try to figure out who is the best debater. Yeah? Very good. I am not going to explain the process or what the judges were looking for. I am going to call on the person who was the head of the judging panel to give you all a little bit of an idea of what the judges were looking for. And that person is the Vice President of the Senate, Senator the Honorable Nigel De Freitas.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for introducing me. As the chairman indicated, there were 3 of us sitting in the back in the media gallery that would have been judging you today. And before I get into exactly what it is that we were judging you on, I just want to join with Madam Speaker and congratulate you and really commend you on what would have been a very lively debate today. So give yourselves a round of applause. Okay. So, some of the categories that we would have been judging you on, as you would have probably heard already, is presentation, which would have looked at general deportment, physical appearance, and how you stood, and basically how you conducted yourselves in the position and the image of how you look in putting forward the titles that you would have held and as parliamentarians. Also, what we would have been judging on is accuracy, whether the information used is true and correct or well supported by documentation. So you would have heard some of you using statistics, and you would have been referring to articles and reports to bring your points across. We'd have also been looking at relevance of information to the topic being debated, as well as delivery. And in delivery, we would have been looking at compliance with parliamentary practice and procedure, adherence and knowledge of the standing orders. You would have heard a lot of your colleagues getting up and on a point of order referring to a particular standing order, whether it be to give way or whether it be for reading and whatnot. So we would have been looking at all of these and ascribing points under the category of delivery for this. What we'd have also been looking at is diction. And under diction, we're looking at specifically the ability to clearly deliver the phraseology, the pronunciation, expression, style, and articulation of how you presented your arguments and whatnot. They would have had 3 judges today. The first judge would have been Chantal LaRoche, which is the legal officer 2 of the Parliament. She's standing in the back. Chantal, if you want to stand. The second judge today would have been Julian Ogilvy, who is the procedural clerk. So give her a round of applause. And the final judge today would have been myself, Senator De Freitas, Vice President of the Senate. All right? And so we would have judged each and every one of you in terms of your debate, and we would have had that very hard task of picking out someone who would have been the best debater today. So what I will do is actually pass back to the chairman, who would announce the winner, because we have the winner already for today's debate. So I will hand over to you. The paper well folded so that nobody knows, only the judges know, who would then announce the winner.
I am not worthy. No, really, I'm not worthy. I don't think I'm worthy. What I will do is I will pass on that responsibility, and yes, I will keep you all in suspense a little longer. I will like to call on the Speaker of the House, the Honorable Bridget Anisette George, to announce the best debater. And Madam Speaker will also announce the special mentions and so on and so on. Oh, you all want a drum roll?
Okay. All right, so thank you, Mr. Master of Ceremonies. So we keep all right, so for honorable mentions, we have for diction, the member for point 410, Ms. Janissa Campbell. Janissa, where are you? You can come, please. Congratulations, Janessa. I want to say to Janessa, this must be in the blood.
Yes.
Okay? Your grandfather was a member of Parliament?
Yes, he was.
Yes. So I'm sure he's very happy in the other place. Congratulations. For strong delivery, the member for Lopino, Bonnier West, Mr. Kobe Sanders. Kobe, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
I hope I'm not mistaken, right? What's your goal again?
To become a world-changing politician.
Now, I don't know Kobe, yeah? But for all of us here who were paying attention on that in that induction ceremony, he said that then. You remember? Right? And Kobe, dreams do come true. Okay, so for our most outstanding debater, and I want to say I had no way of influencing this. The member for Maruga, Tableland. And this is Miss LaQuisha Bailey. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Minister of Trade and Industry. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and congratulations to each and every one of you. At this time, we have come to the vote of thanks. And the vote of thanks is going to be done by Vice President of the Senate, Senator the Honorable Nigel De Freitas.
Thank you again, Mr. Chairman. So you would have realized today that the proceedings would have taken a lot of preparatory work. And in that preparatory work, there would have been individuals and organizations that would have played an integral part in ensuring that it goes as smoothly as it does today. And so it falls upon me to thank these individuals. So today I would just like to thank in terms of training for the students, which was provided by the following persons. Mrs. Catherine Gordon, who coached you all on dress, etiquette and civility. Mrs. Helen Drayton, who took you through the paces with respect to debating skills and aspects of debate. The staff of the Office of the Parliament, who would have trained you in oratory skills, Miss Colleen Holder, Director of Corporate Communications. Process of lawmaking by Miss Chantal LaRoche, Legal Officer 2. The Rules of Parliamentary Practice and Procedure by Mrs. Jacqueline Phillips Stout, Parliamentary Clerk 2. Miss Chantal LaRoche as well, and also Miss Keisha Peterkin, Procedural Clerk Assistant. We'd also like to thank those that provided transportation for the students, which was provided free of charge from the following organizations: the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force, Army and Coast Guard, the Trinidad and Tobago Fire Services, NIDCO by way of the water taxi, the Tobago House of Assembly, and the Deputy Marshal and her team. We would also like to thank the Ministry of Education, the officials and teachers that would have contributed, members of Parliament, the EXCO Committee and the CPA, and finally the coordinating team for the NYP. And I would just like to sum up by saying that if the future of a nation resides in the minds and the actions of its youth, then I dare to say today that with you, the future of this nation is secure. So for that, I would like to thank you for showing us what the youth of Trinidad and Tobago is capable of. Give yourselves a final, hearty round of applause.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vice President. We have come to the end. Yes, I know, parting is such sweet sorrow. Yes.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes?
May I stand?
You may stand.
Before we leave, I want to say that on behalf of all the youth parliamentarians, we want to thank this Parliament for allowing us the opportunity to sit in the 14th National Youth Parliament. As I said before, that I also want to thank the two presiding officers that came to view our deliberation and show that they know they care about the youth, and I know I love it. I love it. And I am sure that we will continue to grow, and we will continue to develop and shape and become this world's leaders that we need to become. I want to thank you all for allowing us that opportunity.
Kobe, you are well on your way to fulfilling your dream. I would also like to express my thanks, firstly, to our specially invited guests, the President of the Senate, the Speaker of the House, the Leader of Opposition Business in the Senate, the Vice President of the Senate, and the Member of Parliament for Mayaro. I would like to extend thanks to your teachers and parents, because without them we would not have been able to enjoy your guys' company and energy. Right? Yeah? Yeah. And thank you all for coming out, for sacrificing your school time, your study time, your play time, all of that. Yes, yes. Thank you all. I know it meant a lot to have to sacrifice all of that, but you all see the end result today, right? Yeah. Very well. Very good. Thank you all. Just two brief announcements before we depart. Members, please remain seated. We have some stuff to do with you all, inclusive of a group photo and distribution of some stuff. Also, the teachers and representatives of the schools, we would like one teacher or one representative of a school to come to the back to collect the school prize. Okay? Those are the only two announcements. Yeah? Yes, that's the most important part. And of course, we are going to feed you all. You all are invited. Yes, 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 yes. There will be cocktails. I am not sure if it's on, let me find out where it is. Is it on the 8th floor? They told me there's cocktails, but didn't tell me if it's on the 8th floor or on the 6th floor. So, you all have something to look forward to even more. Yeah? Very good. We are now adjourned. Thank you.